Louis's great gardener, his real gift was for rearranging the landscape, basically, and dividing it up on a grid. And then you treat the units within the grid essentially as outdoor rooms. And then you would bring in all sorts of other people, water engineers, sculptors, architects, essentially to furnish these rooms.
L'idée serait d'ajouter un nouvel axe au Grand Canal.
On dirait la Sainte Croix. Voilà une pieuse idée de la géométrie, monsieur le nôtre. Elle nous ravit et nous apportera bonheur.
The envelope around the old hunting lodge was complete. Louis's ministers were installed in their new apartments, and the king began governing from Versailles. Now, Louis decided he would make the palace his permanent home, and insisted that leading French nobles come and live there too.
Allons, il est temps maintenant que l'on prenne toutes les dispositions pour que Versailles devienne la demeure du roi de France.
There's no question that for Louis, the nobility, particularly the great court nobility, were an essential aspect of his kingship. They surrounded him with glory and status. This is a state where the ultimate decider on granting favour or refusing favour is in the hands of the king. If you were looking for a military command, if you were looking for favours for many of your clients, supporters and family, then the way to achieve this was by getting access to Louis, and to a lesser extent by gaining access to the ministers around Louis.
But housing all the nobles would mean yet more building work. Louis's finance minister, Jean-Baptiste Colbert, worried about the cost.
Du grand commun à l'aile du Midi, faites en sorte que tous trouvent la place qui leur revient.
Versailles manque d'appartements. Sire, il va falloir encore construire.
Bien, construisons, Colbert. Construisons.
Si le roi est à Versailles, si rien ne peut se faire en France sans passer par le roi, toute la noblesse sera à Versailles.
Louis wanted the nobility at Versailles in order that he could keep an eye on them. The message he wanted to give to his nobles was this: you don't need to rebel to get what you want. What you have to do is come and pay your court to me.
Sire, voici le château en son état.
Original architect, Louis Levaux, died before his project was complete. His replacement, Jules Mansart, had ideas of his own.
Mansart had the great idea to have big wings each side of the envelope to make some accommodations for the princes and the court. So it was a huge design, and I think he had a greater idea of what would be a great palace for a great king.
Si votre majesté veut bien se donner la peine de se pencher sur l'une des fenêtres, elle verra alors notre projet plus en détail.
Mansart's most ambitious proposal was to build a fabulous gallery lined with mirrors.
En réfléchissant la lumière du soleil dans la galerie, ils ne laisseront plus aucune place à l'ombre. Elle aura toujours vue sur les jardins.
Monsieur Mansart, nous apprécions grandement votre art.
Sire, merci.
However magnificent the plans, Louis's experience with his builders was a familiar one. Everything took much longer and cost far more than the estimates. And they made a terrible mess.
Nothing is more false than these gracious pictures of Versailles. It shows this stately place with everything perfect, you know, everybody gliding about. Actually, it was a huge building site. All the court ladies complained about it. The workmen starting at 6 a.m. My dear, the dust and the smell of wet plaster which got into their hair. It's exactly like today, exactly like what we feel on a tiny scale when our neighbours go building.
Jamais nous ne délogerons. S'il y en a qui ne délogeront point de Versailles, ce sont bien les maçons.
Must have been an amazing sight. I mean, the first day in at Versailles. Everybody stops jostling for bigger rooms and better rooms and a better position. In the meantime, the lesser folk, you know, they were trying to get down from the attics, get better rooms, always to get as near as possible to the king.
C'est impossible de s'y retrouver. Pas un endroit qui n'a été modifié 10 fois.
En architecture, Sa Majesté ne sait que faire et défaire.
Ce Versailles ne m'enchante guère. Il est sans âme.
At night, there was this sort of great unrolling of mattresses all over the palace as servants and soldiers, guards, would, they'd go to sleep on the floor. The lavatory arrangements were pretty kind of basic. Servants would think nothing of relieving themselves in the corridors of Versailles. So you have this extraordinary attention on outward appearances and magnificent clothes, but alongside, you have all these smells. I mean, you could have been in a farmyard.
Avez-vous trouvé votre logement?
Oh, pas encore, madame. Dans ce fourre-tout et ces cul-de-sac, je n'ai pu trouver que la grande galerie.
Alors?
I think many of the nobility would have resented the chaos and lack of order, and doubtless complained about this at length. But I think one shouldn't underestimate the compulsive desire of most of the great nobility to attend at court, to be around the king.
Louis's desire for magnificence extended to every aspect of his life, especially his wardrobe. He dressed in the finest cloth and expected his courtiers to do likewise. And when his hair began to recede, he adopted the fashion for elaborate wigs.
A half-inch of lace on a cuff, a gold or a silver button, whether your pearl was here on your collar or here, these could mean life and death to the courtiers. Fashion was hugely important, and it was a very important way for the aristocracy to distinguish themselves from the ordinary people. Louis influenced fashion to some extent. When he was a young man, he dressed quite flamboyantly, lots of cavalier silks and laces and ribbons. He was a bit on the short side, so he introduced a fashion for high-heeled shoes. His mistresses, perhaps, were more influential on fashion. Madame de Montespan invented various outfits, including one, the glorious déshabillé, which was a sort of tunic worn over trousers. And she invented this because it was very easy to take off. Normally, a lady's dress required 2 women to stand behind her to undo all the strings. And of course, Louis was an impatient man. He couldn't be bothered waiting. So she invented this outfit so that he could undress her discreetly and easily in private.
With so many courtiers now craving his attention, Louis kept them busy by turning his daily activities into public rituals.
When he gets up in the morning, that's the royal lever with a great queue of great nobles who hand him different articles of clothing. At night, it's all reversed. It's the royal coucher, and he takes things off and gives them to nobles.